Hey guys, today I'll show you a horror thriller TV series named 3 a.m. Bangkok Ghost Stories. Spoilers ahead, watch out and take care. The first story begins on the rooftop of a radio station at 3 a.m. when a young woman called a man to tell him she was going to kill herself. However, the man on the other end hung up before she could even finish. You know, hanging up on someone before they finish speaking is incredibly rude, so when the girl ended her life, she left behind a powerful grudge. And so, 3 years later, one night at 3 a.m., the man live streaming in the broadcast booth witnessed a terrifying sight. The man was once a popular DJ, enjoying a period of fame, but times change. His career was on a downward spiral, and now he was a washed-up late-night host who could be fired at any moment. His boss tried to comfort him, saying that instead of dwelling on the past, he should work hard to create a better future. The DJ thought that made sense and began to work diligently. His current show was called Sleepless World, running from midnight until dawn with a format of listening to music and chatting with callers. That night, while taking calls, he accidentally answered a call from a troublemaker. The caller was a girl who claimed she had admired the DJ for a long time and had even slept with him. But, she said, the heartless DJ had used her and then pretended not to know her, leaving her no choice but to call into the live show to expose him. Regardless of whether it was true, the DJ immediately cut the call. However, he didn't expect the girl to take her story to their official website and other popular sites, eventually making the incident known to everyone, including the DJ's boss. The boss confronted the DJ, telling him that in the past, he would have fired him on the spot, but now, things were different. Because of the scandal, the DJ's show had gained a massive amount of attention. As the saying goes, even bad publicity is good publicity. While the DJ was being cursed out online, sponsorships poured in. The result was a win-win-win situation. The DJ got a promotion and a raise, the boss was rolling in money, and the sponsors got great exposure for their ads. All the while, the clueless haters were at home, furiously typing away on their keyboards. From then on, the DJ went into overdrive, able to handle even the most difficult questions with ease. That was until, one night after 3 a.m., he received another call from a girl. She politely greeted him, which caught the DJ off guard. But her next words left him stunned. The girl told the DJ she had something to tell him. She had decided to end her sexy life. After saying goodbye, the DJ heard a sickening thud over the phone. Instantly, the lights in the broadcast booth turned red, and he vaguely heard people shouting for an ambulance and talking about how terrifying the jump was. At that moment, even a fool would realize that he had encountered something evil. When a girl suddenly crawled out from under his desk, the DJ was so scared he crouched in a corner, head in his hands, trembling in fear and farts. But soon his boss arrived, scolding him for hiding in the corner instead of working. The DJ didn't know how to explain, so he could only shakily return to his duties. Much later, as dawn was breaking, the DJ finished his show and prepared to leave with his boss and his female co-host. But when they reached the door, he looked away for a moment, and his boss and co-host were gone. In their place stood several people and an ambulance. As their eyes turned towards him, the DJ's world went dark again. He nervously looked into the middle of the group and saw the person lying on the ground sit bolt upright. The figure stared at him as they all rushed towards him, and then the DJ woke up. It was all a wet and bloody hallucination. His boss even called him crazy. The following days were no better for the DJ. He received a call from the same girl almost every night. She would utter the same old 4 lines, followed by red lights and terrifying scares. After a few days of this, the DJ was a complete mess. He pointed at a water stain on his clothes, claiming it was blood, and insisted the broadcast booth was haunted. Seeing him like this, his bosses were furious. They didn't believe him, thinking he must be high on drugs. No matter what the DJ said, they refused to listen and eventually forced him to take a vacation, letting his female co-host take over. But the DJ's fans and sponsors protested, so after just one night off, the DJ was back at work. And so, he continued to receive the girl's calls and be tormented by her until he finally snapped and screamed at her, calling her a psycho. His co-host saw the DJ on the verge of a mental breakdown and grew worried, telling him his behavior was not normal. She asked if she should go to the garage and get his girlfriend to come up and keep him company. Hearing this, the DJ became extremely tense. He asked his co-host if he even had a girlfriend.
I had no idea I did.
His co-host was confused, explaining that every day when he came to work, she saw a beautiful woman sitting in his car. If that wasn't his girlfriend, who could she be? This question made the DJ completely freak out. With trembling legs, he went to the garage. Staring at his car from a distance, he couldn't bring himself to get closer. As he backed away, he felt like he bumped into someone, but when he turned around, there was nothing there. As he fell to the ground in shock, he saw a supernatural phenomenon, a 3-star planetary alignment. This sight reminded him of a woman and an event from 3 years ago, when the same alignment had occurred. Back then, the DJ was still quite popular. During a live show, he announced that the first person to call in could make any request of him, any request at all. The first caller was a girl named Min. She said she wanted to be the DJ's girlfriend. Perhaps to protect his image, the DJ politely refused, saying that if the 3-star alignment happened again in 3 years, then they could be a couple. But after the show, he found Min's contact information, met up with her for a private chat, and they became intimate and smelly. After that one hormone night, however, the DJ ghosted her. He disappeared, even changing his phone number. Unable to reach him, Min had no choice but to call his live show and say she didn't want to live anymore. If the DJ had just offered a few words of comfort then, Min probably would have been fine. But the DJ chose to be dismissive and hung up on her, blaming a bad signal and technical issues. This completely broke Min's heart, and in a moment of despair, she ended her own life. After understanding the whole story, the DJ went to the rooftop and knelt, saying a lot of words that only moved himself. To prevent this sappy love talk from being too cringy, here is a simple translation. What he meant was that he was wrong. He didn't expect her to become a ghost. Now she's already dead like a piece of shit, so she should stop bothering him. After he spoke, Min appeared as expected. She ignored everything the DJ said and just repeated her usual 4 lines, then prepared to jump. The DJ pretended to rush forward and hug her to stop her, but considering she had been dead for a long time, wasn't this act a little too late? Suddenly, the DJ woke up with a start. It was a dream. Seeing that it was almost 3 a.m., he immediately stopped the broadcast and hurried upstairs. On the rooftop, he did indeed see Min's ghost. He began to speak to her with deep affection, saying that 3 years had passed and the 3-star alignment had returned, so he was asking her to be his girlfriend. Min didn't agree. She just said goodbye and vanished. Seeing this, a smile crept onto the DJ's lips. It's not clear whether he was happy that Min's resentment had dissipated, or he was moved by his own scummy, sweet-talking words. Afterward, the DJ went downstairs, and a photo on the wall reminded him of Min again. Back then, Min had been very shy, unable to express her feelings directly, only watching him secretly from a distance. That's how this photo, which had accidentally captured her, came to be. Thinking of this, the DJ couldn't help but smile again. Just then, his co-host walked out carrying a stack of documents. The DJ quickly moved to help her, but then something terrifying happened. He passed right through his partner's body. This stunned the DJ. He looked down at himself, saw that his whole body was glowing and about to disappear, and then he suddenly remembered. Just moments ago, as he was trying to stop Min, he had already tragically died to meet Satan. The second story begins at an easily haunted hospital where whoever walks past Ward 7 in Building 7 will always hear a strange sound from behind every night at 3 a.m. But no matter what, as long as you hear the sound, keep walking and don't look back, and nothing will happen. However, after this young nurse took a few steps, she saw someone identical to herself standing ahead. When she turned around at the sound, it was too late. A pair of withered hands and their owner seemed to have found her. Of course, this was just an old nurse's joke to scare the new ones. After all, ghosts don't exist in this world. At least, that's what the young nurse, Fa, believed. She wasn't scared at all. So the old nurse assigned Fa to work in Ward 7 of Building 7. In this ward lived a woman. The moment she saw Fa, she started acting like a madwoman, frantically calling her daughter. Later, the head nurse explained that after this woman lost her daughter, she saw anyone of a similar age as her own child. The head nurse told Fa to keep her distance from the madwoman unless it was work-related. Fa, of course, remembered the head nurse's warning, but she couldn't ignore the woman who kept calling for her in the middle of the night. When Fa arrived, the madwoman told her she saw a ghost. Fa didn't believe her smelly bullshit, but when she looked in the direction the madwoman was pointing, she saw a strange figure dancing behind the curtain. Fa mustered her courage and pulled the curtain back, but there was nothing there. Fa couldn't figure out what it was. As she returned to the nurse's station, she heard a strange sound from behind her. Forgetting the warning, Fa immediately turned around, but saw nothing. However, there was now a pool of blood in front of the bathroom door. Fa pushed the door open and saw a terrifying female ghost. She collapsed to the floor in fear and in farts, covering her face possibly because her farts were too smelly. This seemed to annoy the ghost, who came forward and pried Fa's hands away, accusing her that she should cover her nose rather than her eyes. When Fa regained her senses, the ghost was gone, and in her place stood the madwoman. The rest of the night was uneventful. The next day, Fa met the madwoman's husband. Seeing that they were both young, she was curious and wanted to ask the man why they had such a grown-up daughter. But the man didn't answer, instead changing the subject. He asked Fa why, with so many wards in the hospital, she chose to take care of his mad wife in Ward 7, since caring for her was more difficult than for other patients. Fa replied that it was her duty and responsibility as a nurse. Fa's flawless answer made the man nod in approval. But that night, Fa saw the ghost again. This time was different. Strange images flashed through her mind, as if the ghost was trying to tell her something. Fa began to investigate the madwoman and her deceased daughter. She discovered that the daughter and her father were not related by blood. This made Fa easy to fart and even more curious. The next day, she couldn't resist asking the man about it again. The man then told her the truth. The girl was not their biological child. She was the daughter of a friend. After the friend and his wife divorced and both remarried, the child was left with no one to care for her. The man felt sorry for her and adopted her. This explanation cleared things up. But that night, while checking the man's social media, the sharp-witted Fa noticed something. The initially harmonious family of 3 had gradually become less so over time. Just as Fa was pondering the problem, the female ghost suddenly appeared and pressed down on the madwoman, making her uncomfortable and breathless, and she called for Fa. But Fa could do nothing but helplessly watch the ghost perform a TikTok dance for her. In the end, she fainted and farted in the elevator. When Fa woke up, she found herself lying in Ward 7, the madwoman's room. The head nurse told her she was overworked and should take some medicine and rest. But Fa saw that the medicine the head nurse gave her was a tranquilizer. A sense of paranoia washed over her and she refused to take it. Finally, the man told Fa the truth. He didn't know if Fa was possessed or had encountered a ghost, but when the head nurse found her in the elevator, she was in a bizarre and terrifying state. Combined with the rumors about Building 7, being told to take medicine herself was a light punishment. They were close to just giving her an injection. Hearing this, Fa was terrified because she truly didn't know what was happening. The man kept comforting her using words but not muscles, saying he understood, but what good was his understanding? That night, Fa disguised herself and went to the madwoman's room. Seeing Fa, the madwoman thought she was her daughter and, in her terror, confessed everything. As the adopted girl grew up, she had developed feelings for the woman's husband. When the madwoman discovered this, she confronted the girl and in the heat of the moment accidentally killed her. Then the woman was admitted to the hospital and the girl became a ghost. After learning the truth, Fa believed it was all a delusion born of the madwoman's jealousy. The madwoman, provoked, wanted to kill her daughter again, who was now Fa in disguise. Just as Fa was about to die, the female ghost finally appeared and took the madwoman away. Safe at last, Fa saw everyone rushing downstairs. When she went down, she saw the madwoman lying on the ground. Whatever the truth was, the madwoman was gone to meet the mad Satan. The man was heartbroken. After all, he had lost both his daughter and his wife. It was at this moment that Fa approached him. She tried to comfort him and then confessed her feelings. She said she had lied before about her nursing duties. The real reason she came to work in Building 7 to care for the madwoman was for him. This way, she could see the man she liked every day. Now that he was all alone, she asked if he would accept her. What could the man say in front of such a sexy body? Of course, he agreed. One night later, while Fa was working, she once again heard a strange noise. This time, she remembered the head nurse's words and didn't turn back. So she never saw the madwoman appear behind her. Whether the madwoman continued to seek revenge on her, we'll never know. The story ends here. The third story begins in the dead of night when a tenant was sleeping soundly like a pig at a small inn. Suddenly, a clump of dark, long hair appeared before her. The tenant seemed to sense it and opened her eyes, but there was nothing besides a sticky feeling on her face. She sat up immediately and scanned the room. She felt like there was a ghost in the room, but after looking for a while, she found nothing. Finally, the carefree tenant gave up and prepared to go back to sleep, but just then, the thing with the dark, long hair reappeared. The tenant, terrified, ran out of her room. She went downstairs screaming that there was a ghost, that she had just seen it in her room. Her chicken screams brought the landlady, who curiously went to check the room but found nothing. At the same time, the landlady seemed to remember something. She then went to her son Beau's room and, after searching, found a wig and a wallet under his mattress. The landlady was furious. She threw the wig at her son's head and, still not satisfied, slapped him hard. She said he was a chip off the old block, that a leopard can't change its spots, calling him a habitual offender who would never kick his bad habits. He caused trouble at school, and now he was causing trouble at home. She lamented what she had done to deserve such a fate. After her tirade, she angrily left the room, leaving Beau alone to grieve. The next day, while Beau was helping at the front desk, he saw a guest come to check in. Even though there was one empty room, the landlady told the guests they were full and turned them away. Beau was puzzled and wanted to ask his mother why, but she was still angry with him and ignored him. So he asked the cleaning lady, who then told him that the empty room was reserved for ghosts. Seeing the disbelief on Beau's face, the cleaning lady quickly explained that it wasn't just their inn. Every hotel has a room like this. She said hotels have a high flow of people, and with more people come unclean things. To prevent them from disturbing the living, a room is specially left for them. Although the cleaning lady's explanation was logical, Beau still found it ridiculous. Humans have been to the moon, and she was still talking about this. Seeing Beau's disrespectful and disbelieving expression, the cleaning lady could only helplessly tell him that it was fine not to believe, but he must not be disrespectful, because she had actually seen one of these unclean things. She said that one day, while cleaning in front of room 404, she vaguely saw a figure moving inside. At first, she thought she was mistaken, but when she looked closely into the room, she truly saw a female ghost. Just talking about it now, the cleaning lady was still shaken. It was terrifying. However, Beau still didn't believe her and mocked her, suggesting she should quit cleaning and go tell ghost stories on Daniel's CCTV channel, since she told them so vividly, as if she had really seen it. The cleaning lady first scolded him, then said she couldn't go on TV because she was shy. There was a female guest at the inn named Marky, who was a tourist from Japan. Beau fell for her at first sight, and they soon hooked up. To win Marky over completely, Beau sent her greeting cards and a mobile phone. But that night, trouble struck. Not that kind of trouble. Marky said her wallet was missing. Without her wallet, she had no money and couldn't stay at the inn anymore. To help, Beau went to beg his mother. His mother, of course, refused and gave Beau a harsh scolding. With no other options, Beau decided to figure something out himself. But with his limited intellect, what could he do? So he turned his attention to that empty room. That night, after his mother had finished checking the accounts and gone to bed, he stole the key to room 404 and opened the door that had been sealed for so long. As he nervously stepped into the room, the paper talisman on the door fell off. Although Beau was startled, he didn't pay it much mind. The room was filthy, with a layer of dust so thick it could swallow a person. Fortunately, Beau was a capable person, and after a half night of hard work, the room was sparkling clean. After he finished, Beau finally noticed something was wrong. Besides the occasional scream, Beau also saw a female ghost in the room. At that moment, he understood that everything the cleaning lady had told him was true, but he had no way back now, so the next day, he prepared to rent out the room. That day, a bald man and a young lady arrived. Seeing them chatting enthusiastically and eager to get a room, Beau switched their pre-booked room to 404. He slipped a cut of the room fee to the clerk on duty as hush money, and the deal was done. However, as he was showing the guests to their room, the cleaning lady spotted him. Although she rushed over to stop him, she was a step too late. With no other choice, she told Beau again that this room was not for the living, but someone was already in it, so what could be done? And from the sounds, they were already busy with their hormone yoga session inside. They couldn't just knock on the door and interrupt their smelly moments. After Beau's desperate pleas, the cleaning lady decided to pretend she hadn't seen anything. But that night, the hotel was not peaceful. It was filled with the ghostly wails of a woman's screams. Marky was terrified by the sound, cowering in a corner of her bed. The landlady's head was splitting, and unable to bear it, she joined in the screaming. As for Beau, his guilty conscience kept him from sleeping. He already knew there was a ghost in that room, so he was worried the guests would be harmed. Finally, he went upstairs to check, only to find that the guests in 404 were the most peaceful of all. The next day, when the couple checked out, they even said they would come back again if needed, and then left happily. But then something strange happened. Although they had checked that they hadn't left anything behind, when Beau was cleaning the room, he found a large gold necklace. Beau was ecstatic, feeling like he was about to strike it rich. In contrast to Beau's excitement, Marky was very unhappy. She felt the place was haunted and wanted to leave as soon as possible. When Bo found out, he tried to stop her, asking where she could go with her wallet missing. He suggested she give him a few more days to save up enough money and then they could leave together. Marky thought about it and agreed. That afternoon, Bo bought a roasted chicken and a drink and went to the room. He lit a stick of incense, stuck it in the chicken, and asked the spirit living in the room to enjoy his offering. He explained that he needed to use the room for a while out of necessity and asked for the spirit's understanding. After speaking, Bo prepared to leave, but as he turned, he sensed something strange behind him. When he looked back, he watched in horror as the chicken and drink were consumed, bite by bite, bit by bit. So he thought accepting the offering meant the spirit agreed. From then on, his mother, suffering from headaches, managed the inn less, and Bo took the opportunity to use room 404 to make money. Strangely, after he started making offerings, every time a guest checked out of that room, they would leave something behind. Sometimes a gold necklace, other times a large wallet. Bo's wallet grew thicker by the day, but the inn's reputation worsened. Unlike the first couple, every guest who stayed in 404 claimed it was haunted. Of course, it might have been haunted from the start. That first couple was just too busy with their hormone games to notice. The two clerks heard the news and decided to check it out themselves, and they too witnessed the terrifying sight. It scared them so much that they went to the landlady that very day to resign. The landlady, of course, refused, asking who would work for her if they left. The two, having been rejected, immediately said they didn't want any more pay. Now the landlady had no reason to keep them, and they left in relief. With things getting out of hand, the cleaning lady came to persuade Bo again, telling him to lock up that room immediately. She said that ever since he opened that door, the inn had been plagued with problems, and his mother had even fallen ill. If this continued, she suspected his mother would be completely ruined. She had said all she needed to say. It was up to Bo whether he listened. That night, the landlady's headache returned. In a daze, she looked up and saw a female ghost riding on her head. It seems some deep-seated hatred was between these two. One was locked in a room for years, and the moment she was out, she was trying to kill the other. Meanwhile, Marky was on the phone talking to someone, all lovey-dovey and passionate. But when Bo arrived, she hung up instantly, her speed so fast it was shocking. It looked like Bo had been cheated on. Bo had come to tell Marky that he had saved up enough money. With this money, they could go somewhere and have fun for many days. But he couldn't leave now because his mother was sick. Seeing Marky's reluctance to part with the wallet, Bo thought for a moment and decided to let her keep it. In return, of course, Marky slept with him. After sending Bo off satisfied for 2 minutes, Marky immediately called the other man, telling him she had gotten a lot of money and to wait for her in Phuket, as she would be there soon. After hanging up, she started packing, ready to flee, but it seemed she couldn't leave. When she went into the hallway, she saw the female ghost. She screamed in terror, her cries waking the just-asleep landlady and bringing back Bo, who had just left. Bo first went to Marky's room and didn't see her. Then he went to the hallway and saw her luggage and wallet. Even with his head in the clouds, he understood that Marky was trying to run off with the money. So he took the wallet and went upstairs to find Marky and confront her. But when he saw her, before he could even ask, the terrified Marky grabbed him, begging him to take her away. However, Bo didn't answer. He pushed her greasy body away, and with a crack of his neck, he was possessed. The entity said she was a liar and told her to tell Bo she was lying. Marky shook her head frantically, but this only enraged the ghost. The ghost revealed her true form, ready to teach her a lesson. Only then did Marky confess to Bo that she had a boyfriend, that she didn't like Bo, and that she was only with him to trick him out of money for her boyfriend. The truth was out. The ghost disappeared, and Bo's heart was broken. Then Marky was killed by the ghost. Seeing this, Bo immediately forgot about being cheated on and held Marky's body. But the Marky in his arms suddenly came back to life. She opened her eyes, gave Bo a sinister smile, and told him not to call her Marky, but to call her Mom. Her words left Bo stunned, at a loss for what to say. Seeing Bo's reaction, she told him not to worry, that she would tell him everything now. But before she could speak, the landlady came upstairs. The ghost immediately grabbed the landlady by the hair and dragged her into room 404. She pushed the landlady onto the bed, accusing her of sealing her in this prison for over a decade. Now that she was out, she was going to kill her for revenge. But the landlady, hearing this, became desperate, saying she's her older sister and how she could do this to her older sister. At this point, some things became clear. It turned out the ghost and the landlady were sisters. When their parents passed away, they left them the inn. Their father had said the inn was for the older sister, but the younger sister, who's actually Bo's biological mother, was dissatisfied. She wanted to sell the inn, split the money, and use her share to buy milk powder for her child. But the older sister refused, saying the inn was given to her, and if they sold it, what would she do for a living? Hearing her sister's refusal, the younger sister got angry, asking how she was supposed to raise her child without selling the house. At this, the older sister berated her, saying it served her right for being deceived by a man. But the mention of her man made the younger sister even more furious. The two sisters had a huge fight, and the younger sister, in a fit of rage, told her sister that since the inn was in her name, if they didn't sell it, she wouldn't give her a single penny of the income. This made the older sister snap. Since her sister was being so ruthless, she decided to kill her. Afterward, she sealed her younger sister's spirit in the room, but raised Bo as her second son. Now, seeing the ghost about to kill her older sister for revenge, Bo couldn't let it happen and tried to stop her. This caused his vengeful mother to transfer her resentment to him. The landlady, seeing her younger sister attacking Bo, grabbed a chair in a moment of panic and tried to attack the ghost. She didn't harm the ghost but ended up killing Marky. With Marky dead, the love-struck Bo couldn't take it and called the police, who arrested the landlady. The story doesn't end there. After a transition, Bo took over the inn and became the owner. Since his aunt was imprisoned, the inn was no longer haunted and business slowly returned to normal. But the guests' wallets still went missing. Only at the end did it reveal what the landlady meant by calling him a chip off the old block. It turns out Bo's love for stealing was hereditary. After each guest left, Bo would be the first to enter the room, take the wallet, and then say thanks to his ghost mom in the empty room. The story ends here. The fourth story begins with May, who was on the phone, her voice filled with anger. Her younger sister had taken their mother's heirloom, a very valuable bracelet, and disappeared. Now, May was extremely worried. While searching for her sister's whereabouts, May came across a job advertisement. Wondering if her sister might be there, May decided to try her luck and went to the address the next day. It was a private villa complex with each house having a large garden. May arrived at the gate, found it unlocked, and let herself in. Once inside the courtyard, she began to look through each room, as if searching for the owner of the house, or perhaps for traces of her sister. During her search, she noticed a painting, a very old-looking one placed right in the center of the entryway. May didn't think much of it at the time, assuming it was a portrait of the owner's father or someone similar. As she ventured deeper, she came to the owner's studio. There, she thought she saw a trace of her sister, but her noise alerted the owner to her presence. Left with no choice, May had to stop her search for her sister and exchange with the man some greetings, but not hormones yet. He was a man wearing a mask. May told him she was there for the job interview but was immediately rejected. The man said May was not suitable for the job and couldn't be his model. Hearing this, May dropped the pretense, took out her phone, and asked the man if he had seen the woman in the photo. The man glanced at it, said he didn't know her and had never seen her, and then promptly told her to leave. His casual attitude annoyed May. May then said that she could at least apply to be a model. The man repeated his previous statement, she wasn't suitable. This time, May got angry. With her sexy figure, how could she not be fit to be his model? She wondered why it's so hard for her because it's just taking off clothes. Her words offended the man, who scolded May for insulting art, saying that being a nude model was more than just taking off clothes. He explained that nudity is not pornography, but a beautiful work of art that doesn't need to be hidden and shouldn't cause shame. It's about a kind of confidence and pride that comes from within. Therefore, May was not suitable. May turned to leave, but after a few steps, she stopped. Whether it was the desire to find her sister and the gold bracelet, or because she felt insulted by the man, May decided to stay. Right there in front of the man, she confidently undressed to flex her body. She successfully got the job. On the first day of painting her, the man said he had been waiting for a long time because May was truly beautiful, a beauty that should only exist in the heavens, rarely found on earth, the kind of beauty every man would want to possess. May suggested that he probably says that to all nude women. The man immediately retorted, admitting he had praised others before, but that was because every woman has her own unique beauty. May, however, was different. She was a beauty that outshone all others. In short, the man, being an artist, had a way with words. Every woman loves praise, and the beautiful May was no exception. In the end, she fell for his sweet talk. At this point, May became interested in the man and asked him why he wore a mask. Was he too ugly to be seen? The man's explanation was that he was afraid of getting to know her too well. The first day's session was long, and May unknowingly fell asleep. Suddenly, the studio lights went out. In a daze, May saw a terrifying woman crawling towards her. Just as the woman was about to touch her, she woke up. It was all a nightmare. The man was standing beside her. He told her it was almost 3 a.m., so she should get ready to leave, but to come back tomorrow. That night, back home, May wanted to drink some water to calm her nerves. Although something felt off at the man's place, she didn't think too much about it at the time. A woman's intuition told her that her sister might be hidden there, so for the sake of her mother's gold bracelet, she had to continue working there and keep searching for her sister. Perhaps she was just too tired, as May didn't notice that her hands had somehow become aged and wrinkled. The next day at the studio, the man kept trying to flirt some hormones out of May, but May pretended not to give in easily. So, they continued with the painting. But May kept feeling as if there was someone else hidden in the room. Curious, she asked the man if he was truly alone there. The man calmly replied that he lived alone, so of course he was the only one. But May said she felt like someone was constantly watching her. After May said this, the man subconsciously glanced at the time. It was almost 3 a.m. again, so he told May to get dressed and go home with her smelly butt. Back home, May took a relaxing bath, only to discover her hair was falling out in clumps. But at the time, she still didn't pay it much mind. On the third day, May arrived a bit early. Seeing that the man wasn't in the studio, it gave her a chance to search the house. Upstairs, she saw a painting lying face down on the floor. Before she could flip it over, another sound drew her to the man's bedroom. Through a crack in the door, she saw the man, mask off, standing in front of a mirror, admiring his own handsome face. But soon he discovered her. Immediately, a fierce ghost attacked, knocking May over. May was terrified, and the man came over to comfort her using words but not muscles yet. May told him she had seen an old woman. Hearing May's words, the man told her she might be hallucinating from paint poisoning and told her not to worry. Calmed down, May suddenly thought about her hair and skin. She wanted to ask if the paint was harmful to her body. The man didn't answer. He was a painter, not a doctor. Later, while painting, they talked about her sister again. Seeing May's worried and unhappy expression, the man stopped painting, feeling that her mood would affect the quality of his work. He asked May if she was in any trouble, and if so, to tell him, and he would definitely help. May wanted to know why he was being so nice to her. The man replied that maybe it's because of love. May was moved. Forgetting all about going home, the two immediately moved their battle to the bed. But at the critical moment, May saw the ghost again. The ghost roared at her, saying she wanted to see her die. May was shocked and sat up on the floor, ending up right next to the face-down painting. But just as she was about to look at it, the man interrupted her. After that, May left. Back home, she started researching the man. What she found was a shock. The man was a very famous painter who had won a major award in 1971. He was only 34 at the time. A quick calculation revealed that the man should be 80 years old now, yet he looked so young. To understand the situation, May went back on the fourth day. The man told her the painting was almost finished, and maybe she wouldn't need to come back tomorrow. May apologized for the previous night's incident. After all, he had his hormone gun out, and she felt sorry for not letting him fire around. During their conversation, May mentioned she might have dropped an earring in the kitchen the night before. The man immediately got up to help her look for it. After sending the man away, May quickly went to his room. She rummaged through his things, perhaps looking for the gold bracelet, but found nothing. She was then discovered by the man. May nervously took out the earring and said it was in the bedroom after all, but the man had already seen through her act. He didn't say anything, just led her back to the studio to continue painting. At this point, May started to probe, asking how long the man had lived there and whether the painting by the door was of his father or grandfather. But the man didn't answer her questions directly, just told her to be quiet for a while so as not to disturb his painting. But May couldn't stay quiet. She thought about the previous night. Although it was just a glimpse, she was sure the woman in that painting was her sister. The man in front of her had lied. May's sister had definitely been here, so her disappearance was undoubtedly connected to the man. Thinking of this, she immediately raised a gun and aimed it at him. The man, however, remained calm and continued painting, as if everything was within his expectations. Sure enough, a moment later, May's arm started to change strangely. May was terrified by the sight. She wanted to shoot, but the lights in the room suddenly went out, and the clock struck 3 a.m. Then the female ghost suddenly appeared and choked May. May subconsciously looked at the ghost's wrist and saw the gold bracelet. She recognized the woman before her as her missing sister, but it was all too late. The man calmly finished his painting. He told May that she never really cared about her sister's life. She wasn't looking for her sister, but for her own greed. But if May couldn't live forever, she would find that material possessions and beauty are fleeting because she couldn't hold on to anything. However, they were lucky because they met him, and he could use his paintings to preserve their beauty forever. As the man finished speaking, May collapsed to the floor, turning into an old, withered woman just like her sister. The man paid no mind to this, carefully hanging the two paintings on the wall to admire them. After a transition, a young woman holding a flyer also found her way to the man's estate. She hesitated at the gate for a moment, found it unlocked, and just like May, she walked straight into the estate. The story ends here. The fifth story begins with a strange cosmetics company where everyone would pack up and go immediately as soon as it was time to leave, everyone except the janitor. A new girl was very puzzled, wondering if this place was haunted. She wanted to ask the janitor about it, but as soon as she brought it up, the janitor became nervous and scared. She didn't want to talk, just urged the girl to go home quickly. But the more she acted this way, the more curious the girl became. Finally, after the girl's persistent pleading, the janitor told her the story, making her promise to keep it a secret. A few days ago, the company's 3 girls went to a party. They had a great time and went home very late. But when one of the girls tried to hail a taxi, no one would stop for her. Even if a car did pull up, it would speed away moments later, as if the driver had seen something terrifying next to her. Eventually, she managed to get a taxi, but the driver seemed to be a bad person. In the car, the girl soon felt hot all over, and her vision became blurry. The driver, seeing this, pulled the car over in a grove of trees and was about to assault her, using his hormone weapon. At the critical moment, a female ghost suddenly appeared and chased the driver away. Just when the girl thought she was saved, she was killed by the female ghost. The scene was gruesome, so it's difficult to describe it. The new girl, though scared, still wanted the janitor to tell her what happened next. The janitor continued, explaining that after the girl died, because no one found her body, her 2 friends assumed she had run off with some man. One day, a shipment needed to be delivered. The other girl had something to do, so she asked her friend Dika to handle it. While applying makeup, the girl's hand suddenly trembled, and she accidentally got a bit of mascara in her eye. Dika suggested she wash it out, but the girl refused, saying she had often gotten it in her mouth before with no issue. Dika stopped insisting. The girl worked until 3 a.m. that night before remembering the incident, but by then her eye seemed to have gotten much worse. It was bright red, and soon something even more terrifying happened. It was as if her eye was an extra part, so she gouged it out, and in a moment of despair, she took her own life. After the girl died, Dika's face broke out in a large rash. When she went to wash her face, she felt as if she was being watched by something unclean. At first, she thought she was just tired and hallucinating, but later her face and the series of bizarre events she encountered told her it wasn't a hallucination. She was indeed being targeted by something sinister, but Dika couldn't figure out why. As she was about to leave the company, she ran into a male colleague who was also leaving. Seeing a makeup case in his hands, she asked if it was his. The colleague nodded, explaining that he had a part-time job, applying makeup to the dead. The colleague left, but his words left Dika stunned. She now seemed to understand why she was being haunted. The night they went to the party, the 3 of them had somehow lost their makeup. It was then that they found this makeup case and happily used it. So it seems all the terrifying events happening now were because of that. It was 2:40 a.m., and Dika still didn't want to go home. The strange events continued. Terrified, Dika hid in a warehouse, where she saw a frightening altar and a strange old woman chanting spells. Seeing photos of the 3 of them on the altar, Dika completely broke down, demanding to know what the woman was doing, but the only response was the incessant chanting. The janitor paused her story here because the new girl suddenly didn't want to hear anymore, even saying she thought there would be something new. The janitor asked the girl why she asked her to tell the story if she already knew. The girl said she just wanted to check if the janitor's story matched what others had told her. As the girl left, the janitor was lost in her memories. That day, her beloved daughter was about to get married. As a mother, she naturally wanted her daughter to be beautiful on her wedding day, so the janitor spent a lot of money to buy a set of cosmetics for her daughter from the company where she worked. It was the same set recommended by the 3 girls, who even gave her a half-price discount because they were colleagues. But she never expected that after her daughter used the cosmetics, her face would be completely ruined. The wedding was postponed, and her daughter, devastated and unable to face anyone, fell into a deep depression. The janitor angrily confronted the three girls, but they shirked all responsibility, claiming it had nothing to do with them. They said their company's cosmetics were all approved by the Food, Drug, and Health authorities and were perfectly legal and safe. They boasted that they sold enough bottles to circle the globe. So why was it that only her daughter had a problem when no one else did? The implication was that the old woman was just trying to extort money from them. This infuriated the janitor, but when she returned home, she found that her daughter, unable to bear the despair, had committed suicide. After learning the truth, the old woman's grief turned to rage. Fortunately, she knew a thing or two about dark arts. She first secretly took some of their cosmetics and then replaced them with the makeup box the man used for the dead, adding her own special ingredients. The moment those three girls used those cosmetics, her daughter's soul found them, and one by one, they all died. Hearing their desperate screams, the janitor was overjoyed. It was the happiest day she had had since her daughter's death. The sixth story begins on one dark night when Jay, a security guard, was patrolling on his bicycle. He heard someone shouting for help. Puzzled, he immediately stopped to look and saw a horrifying scene in the yard of House 303. His boss, the security captain, then interrupted him. It turned out that tonight was Jay's first night shift, and his boss was just playing a joke on him. Seeing Jay's fear, the security captain comforted him, saying there were no ghosts in the world. Even if there were rumors about House 303 being haunted, they were definitely false, because he had never seen anything. Soon night fell, and Jay began his patrol as his boss had instructed. When he neared House 303, he didn't hear any cries for help, but out of curiosity, he got off his bike to check. He didn't see a female ghost, but he did see an old man with one eye. The old man stared straight at Jay, making him feel very uneasy, and he quickly fled for his shitty life. The next day, when he passed by again, he saw the same old man, but this time, he was carefully polishing a gold necklace and a large watch. This dazzling sight once again caught Jay's eye, making him want them for himself. But when the old man noticed him, Jay ran off apologetically. That night, he returned, wearing a ski mask. After all, the gold chain was too tempting. Jay felt the old man was too old to hold on to it. Upon entering, Jay eagerly started searching, completely uninterested in the various photos displayed in the old man's house. After a long and careful search, he only found a watch. He had just finished with the cabinet and was about to check a chest when he heard the click of a gun's safety being released. This was more terrifying than seeing a ghost. Jay instinctively raised his hands, repeatedly saying not to shoot, that he would leave immediately. But now that he was here, leaving wasn't so easy. It seemed the old man had no intention of letting him go. However, to his surprise, when the old man pulled off his mask, the old man's expression suddenly changed, and he called out a name Jay didn't recognize. Although he didn't know why, it was better for the old man to mistake him for someone else than to be shot. So Jay decided to play along. Later, through their conversation, Jay learned that the old man had mistaken him for his son-in-law who worked in the South. The old man said that after the mining accident, he thought Jay was dead. Jay quickly explained that he was lucky and had escaped. The old man asked if he would leave again this time. Jay said he definitely would, as he was worried his creditors would come and disturb the old man's life. Hearing this, the old man immediately took off his gold necklace and handed it to Jay, telling him to use it to pay off his debts. If it wasn't enough, there was more upstairs. After taking the gold necklace, Jay was stunned, feeling like he had gotten it without any effort. He replied that it was enough for today. Then the two of them, father and son, toasted with water, each with their own thoughts, and smiled. The woman the old man mentioned was actually his daughter, but Jay, immersed in his excitement over the gold necklace, paid no attention to this, nor did he wonder why his wife was nowhere to be seen when her husband had returned. The next day, Jay sold the gold necklace and bought the latest model smartphone, enjoying himself immensely. The security captain saw this and was puzzled. Since it wasn't payday, where did he get the money? Jay casually explained that he had won the lottery. The security captain clearly didn't believe him, but just warned Jay not to do anything illegal in the community, or he would personally hand him over to the police. Jay didn't care at all, giving a couple of dismissive replies. He then tried to ask his boss about the old man, but the security captain didn't know much either, only that the old man used to be an official, was very rich now. His daughter's whereabouts were unknown, and his son-in-law worked in the South. From this, Jay gathered some key information. The old man lived alone, was very rich, and was possibly suffering from dementia. So that evening, he dressed himself up nicely and went to the old man's house again. That night, they talked a lot, mostly about the old man's daughter. During the conversation, Jay glanced at a photo and saw that the old man's daughter was indeed very beautiful. At this point, the old man's expression turned serious, and he asked Jay if he would treat his daughter well in the future. Jay immediately said yes. This made the old man laugh heartily, and he decided to give Jay a few gold bars. He told Jay to wait there while he went upstairs to get them. Jay was so excited he couldn't speak, his smile stretching from ear to ear. But he waited for a long time, and the old man didn't come down. Jay unknowingly fell asleep like a pig. When he woke up, it was already 3 a.m. Jay was worried, wondering if the old man had fallen while getting the gold bars. He cautiously went upstairs to look, but as soon as he reached the top of the stairs, he was knocked out by the old man. When Jay woke up again, he found his leg was broken, and he was tied up like a Barbie doll. Jay was completely bewildered, wondering if the old man had this kind of hobby. But Jay wasn't panicked. He told himself that although his leg was useless, he still had his hands. That night, while the old man was asleep, Jay managed to untie the ropes with his mouth and hands. Just as he was about to escape, he was stopped by his wife. Seeing the creepy, decaying woman, Jay fainted from fright. When he woke up again, it was morning and time for breakfast. His father-in-law said his daughter was a good girl and Jay was lucky to have her, then fed Jay porridge spoonful by spoonful. But Jay was too angry to eat and got it all over his clothes. The old man angrily took off his shirt to wash it. Jay took this opportunity to try to escape again, but failed and was tied up into a Barbie doll once more by his father-in-law. Seeing the furious Jay, the old man comforted him, saying that if he obeyed him and his daughter, he would give Jay everything he had. But Jay didn't want any of it anymore. He just wanted to live. He accused the old man of being senile, explaining that he wasn't his son-in-law, just a security guard. To his surprise, the old man then dropped the act. He had known all along that Jay was the little security guard who coveted his gold. People said his real son-in-law died in the mine, but only the old man knew the truth. His son-in-law had been in his house all along because he had killed him himself. Now he warned Jay that if he behaved, he and his daughter would leave him in peace. But if he disobeyed, his fate would be the same as his predecessors. Jay was in despair. Faced with the double blow of having to serve a female ghost at night, he was on the verge of collapse. In contrast, the old man was very happy. As long as his ghost daughter was happy, he was satisfied. The old man was humming a tune, enjoying himself, and then accidentally fell asleep. When he woke up with a start, he found Jay was gone. He immediately got up to look, only to be knocked out by Jay, who was hiding nearby. After knocking out the old man, Jay prepared to leave, but as soon as he stepped out the door, he was unlucky enough to be grabbed by the neck and dragged back by his wife. The recovering old man saw the fainted Jay and angrily prepared to finish him off for good. At that critical moment, the doorbell rang. It was the security captain. The old man went downstairs to talk to him. During this time, Jay woke up. He was about to escape again when something under the chair caught his attention. He pulled it out and saw that it was the wife who came to please him every night. It was a corpse. Jay was terrified by this sight and decided to set the house on fire. When the old man returned, he was too busy putting out the fire to pay attention to Jay, allowing Jay to successfully escape to the security captain. The captain was surprised to see Jay and asked where he had been for the past few days. Jay frantically told him that he had been captured by the old man and that the old man was now coming for him with a hammer after putting out the fire. He begged the captain for help, but the outcome was unexpected. The captain helped the old man restrain him. And so, in Jay's utter confusion, he was about to be knocked out again. In the next scene, the old man gave the security captain a wad of cash. The man happily took it but looked troubled, asking if this would be the last one, as he was tired of finding new candidates. The old man told him not to worry, that those captives were all very happy. They were lucky because his daughter was a good girl. Hearing this, the captain was instantly relieved, knowing that ghost marriage is still a marriage. As long as the family was happy, what could he say? Besides, he was getting paid, so why meddle in other people's business? So the man took the money and left. But with his departure, Jay's suffering was just beginning. The story ends here. The seventh story begins with a taxi driver picking up a beautiful woman on the side of the road around 2 a.m. At that moment, where the woman was going no longer mattered. Just having her sit there quietly made the driver's mood instantly better. The night shift didn't seem so hard anymore. Throughout the journey, the driver was busy, either looking at the road or at her chest. The more he looked, the better his mood and spirits became. On a whim, he decided to tell the girl a horror story, attempting to scare her to wet herself. But when he turned back, he found the girl was gone. The driver was terrified, thinking he had seen a ghost. But when he told his colleague Pang about it, Pang didn't believe him. saying the driver must have been hallucinating. Later, when Pang was about to go out for a fare, a strange woman blocked his car. At first, he intended to step on the gas to teach her a lesson, but after 2 attempts, the woman not only didn't move, but also leaned against his window. Seeing her terrifying face, Pang banged his head on the steering wheel, screaming at his full chicken lungs. A long while later, the sound of his horn brought the older driver. When he looked up, the female ghost was gone. Pang fearfully told the older driver what had happened. Unlike Pang, the older driver believed him completely. He calmly took 2 items from his pocket, a talisman and holy water, and told Pang to keep them on him for emergencies. Pang took them and saw that the talisman was fine, just a roll of yellow paper, but the holy water looked a bit strange, not very proper. However, being in a hurry to get back to work, he didn't think much of it. In reality, Pang had inherited the fine tradition of most taxi drivers. He wouldn't take fares that were too far or too close on bad roads, or from people who weren't good-looking. That night, not long after he set out, he encountered 2 young men hailing his cab. When he heard they were going to the border checkpoint, his first instinct was to refuse. But the men offered so much money that Pang felt too embarrassed to say no and let them in. Along the way, he chatted with them about random things until an emergency news bulletin came on the radio. It reported that a bank had just been robbed, the suspects were wearing masks and had stolen over $3 million in cash, and their whereabouts were unknown. The public was urged to be vigilant. Hearing this, Pang subconsciously glanced at the 2 men in the back, but didn't connect them to the fugitives. He just muttered to himself that life is hard for everyone these days. But as he was talking, the man with long hair behind him started acting very strange. In a daze, Pang even saw a hand reaching for his steering wheel. They were all frightened by this and decided to pull over at a service area to rest. After getting out of the car, another man, Mustache, told his friend to act normal. Otherwise, Pang would find out. But the friend couldn't act normal, insisting that a woman was coming to claim their lives. Meanwhile, Pang had another supernatural encounter. Terrified, he instinctively pulled out the talisman and holy water. Seeing that persuasion wasn't working, Mustache gave his friend a few pills to make him sleep. During this, Mustache suggested he should hold on to the gun, but was shut down by a sharp glare from his friend. Seeing Pang approaching, they had no choice but to continue towards the border. This time, after getting back in the car, the friend was indeed much calmer, but the female ghost was not. She kept causing trouble, either forcing them to stop or possessing the long-haired man. This made Pang decide to use the talisman, only to find it was a fake. There was no spell inside, just a sexy photo. Pang was furious, but helpless. Seeing the 2 guys in the back seat fighting, they got out of the car. Pang followed to see what was happening and couldn't look away. Their struggle had caused the money from their bag to scatter all over the ground. A moment later, Mustache overpowered his friend, knocking him out. He picked up the money and the gun and threatened Pang, forcing him to drive them to the border. On the way, they encountered a police checkpoint. To avoid it, Pang drove onto a side road. To make Pang cooperate, Mustache promised to give him 1/3 of the money if he got them to their destination safely. But Pang didn't believe him, thinking his life would be over once they arrived. In a daze, they saw the female ghost again. In a panic, Pang crashed the car into a tree, and everyone was knocked unconscious. Mustache was the first to wake up. He grabbed the money and ran. Pang tried to start the car, but saw the female ghost again. He had no choice but to get out and run for his fat life. But no matter where he ran, the female ghost pursued him relentlessly. Eventually, Pang was numb with fear. He stopped running and asked the ghost why she was tormenting him, as he didn't remember doing anything to her. As the saying goes, every debt has a debtor. She should find the person who killed her. He begged the ghost to leave him alone. After he spoke, the ghost indeed disappeared. Pang was overjoyed and immediately fled the woods, reaching the main road. As luck would have it, a taxi was passing by. Pang hailed it. It stopped and he got in. But then something terrifying happened again. He discovered the taxi driver was another version of himself. Then, as an observer, he was shown a scene from the past where a woman wanted to take his taxi. He saw himself haggling with the woman and then, pleased with the deal, letting her in. But after driving a short distance, not yet at her destination, he stopped the car and told her to get out and walk the rest of the way, saying it wasn't far. He didn't care that it was dark or unsafe and forced the woman out of the car. At that exact moment, 2 men were drinking by the roadside. They are Mustache and his friend. Seeing the woman, their drunken minds turned to evil thoughts, and a brutal incident occurred, causing the woman's death. Seeing this, Pang instantly understood. The woman he had kicked out of his cab was the female ghost. In that sense, Pang was indeed an indirect cause of her death, so it was only natural for the ghost to seek revenge on him, and now she had finally managed to gather all three of them in one place. And so the ghost got her wish. Mustache was killed by a passing car. His friend picked up the money and the gun, was then controlled by the ghost, shot Pang, and then killed himself. It was a case of just desserts. The story ends here. The 8th story begins with a salaryman repeating yesterday's tasks every single day. Sometimes the man would wonder if the purpose of living is just to repeat the same things day after day, a life where you can see your own death from the very beginning. The man loved a book called Tomorrow because no matter how difficult or torturous today was, he always held out hope for tomorrow. Although right now he was being so exploited by his boss that he could barely see a tomorrow. Every night while waiting for the bus, the man called himself a low-income earner, waiting for death. Even though private cars were cheap now, they were still an unattainable dream for people like him. Sometimes the man would think that if he had a companion like them, they could share a taxi home. But just as he was thinking this, the bus arrived. The man waved it down, got on, and sat wherever he wanted. At this time of night, there were hardly any people, so there was no need to fight with the elderly for a seat. At this moment, the man thought again, if only there was a button he could press to jump to tomorrow, because by tomorrow, things might get better. Then, the next stop arrived. The man's eyes lit up as if he had seen his tomorrow. A girl got on the bus, a very beautiful girl. She was his type, so everything about her was beautiful in his eyes. Coincidentally, she was also reading the book, Tomorrow. Seeing this, the man smiled to himself, thinking it must be fate. He wanted to get to know her right then and there, but his low self-esteem prevented him from taking that step. So, he could only sit behind her and secretly take a photo of her. However, he didn't get the angle right. He wanted to change seats and try again, but he fumbled and was discovered. Luckily, the man reacted quickly and pretended to be on the phone, but the girl saw through it all. At the same time, his current appearance seemed a little cute to her, and the atmosphere even had a hint of romance. But then something unexpected happened. The man fell asleep, and he slept past his stop. When he woke up, the bus was dark. The girl, the driver, and the ticket conductor were all gone. What was going on? The man got up, full of questions, and instinctively started to get off the bus. But suddenly, he felt like he had stepped on something. The man looked down and saw a woman's watch. But unfortunately, it was broken. Just then, a hand reached out towards him. The man felt it and whipped around, but there was nothing behind him. The man threw the watch away and prepared to go home, not knowing that from this moment on, he was being targeted by something unclean. That night, the man took the bus home as usual. He didn't run into the beautiful girl again. Instead, a terrifying ghost appeared behind him. At first, the man didn't realize it. He would just occasionally feel an itch on his neck, feel extremely sleepy, and then fall asleep. When he woke up, the bus would be dark again with only him left inside. And of course, the woman's watch. The man didn't know why this was happening, but he didn't think much of it at the time. The next day, many images started flashing in his mind, very bloody, very terrifying. It seemed like something had happened on the bus, but he couldn't remember what, and he felt the itch on his neck getting worse. Without thinking too much, the man took this as a warning, a signal from his tired body telling him he needed to rest. This made the man think about taking leave or even quitting, but if he quit, where would his tomorrow be? Just as he was thinking this, he saw her again, but that night, she seemed a bit unhappy. He didn't know why, only that she was holding a white flower, which might suggest that someone in her family had passed away. Then, in a daze, the man fell asleep again. When he woke up, he was in the same dark bus, but this time was different. The bus doors were closed, and besides him, there was a terrifying girl inside. The man was then startled awake. The man didn't know if that was all a dream. He searched online for haunted bus incidents, but found no useful information, and his situation only got worse. That night after work, the man didn't want to take the bus home. He wanted to splurge on a taxi, but for some reason no taxis would stop for him. He tried to take a different bus, but the result was the same. In the end, only the haunted bus would pick him up. Maybe this was fate. The man had no choice but to get on. Later, at the next stop, he saw the girl again. This time, besides being unhappy, she started to cry loudly. For some reason, her cries sent a chill down his spine all the way to his butt, giving him goosebumps all over. But suddenly, the sound of the ticket conductor's coin box falling caught his attention. When he turned back, the girl had mysteriously disappeared, and the terrifying girl was now sitting next to him. The man was startled, and then suddenly, he woke up again in the dark bus. But this time was different. No matter what he did, he couldn't get out. In a daze, many images appeared in his mind. He pieced them together and understood. He was already dead. It turned out that on the day he first saw the girl, a robber had also boarded the bus. The robber held a knife to the girl, forcing her to hand over her watch and wallet. The man mustered his courage and intervened, but in the struggle, he was killed by the robber. Seeing that he had killed someone, the robber fled, ignoring the girl. So although he had successfully been a hero and saved the beauty, he had paid with his own life. The girl cried bitterly at the time and tried her best to save him, but it was all in vain. The man eventually died. From the book, it was clear that the girl and the man had the same interests. They were the same kind of people, repeating yesterday's routine day after day, year after year, but the man's appearance had changed her reality. If the man hadn't died, they would have gotten together. But the man died, and from then on, the woman's travels gained a new destination, the man's grave. The story ends here. The 9th story begins with 3 young men fighting a bully. Though battered and bruised, they won. The 3 were overjoyed and drank a lot of alcohol, then decided to drive home drunk. But on the way, they unfortunately ran into one of the boys' father. The father was furious and immediately took the 3 to the police station, where they were assigned to be rescue volunteers. The boys' 2 buddies were terrified, worried they would have to move dead bodies. But if they didn't go, their leader would kill them. In the end, they had no choice but to agree. Just then, an ambulance sped by, clearly on an emergency call. The 3 young men stood in front of it, demanding to go along. The 2 paramedics, after understanding the situation, although they hated drunk driving, saw that the youths were willing to mend their ways and decided to give them a chance, just hoping they wouldn't regret it later. These strange words puzzled the 3, but they were allowed to get on the ambulance. The ambulance quickly arrived at the scene. A taxi had been in an accident, and they didn't know if the people inside were dead or alive. Seeing the paramedics rush over, they took out their phones and started recording. This was for evidence to show the boy's father later. But their actions were seen by a busy paramedic, who came over and scolded them, telling them to go back if they couldn't help, and not to film and record, as it was disrupting their work. The 3, of course, couldn't leave. They started to go and help, but before they could, one of the buddies saw blood and fainted. Now they were a burden instead of a help. As the 2 buddies carried their friend to the ambulance, they saw a dead body and a strange old man. They were terrified, but urged on by the paramedics, they had no choice but to get on the vehicle with their heads down. In the ambulance, they woke up their friend, but seeing the scene, he fainted again. The 2 buddies were stunned, not knowing what to do. They thought of using the oxygen mask from the old man to revive their friend, but in their haste, they didn't notice the bloodstains on it. When their friend was revived, he didn't faint at the sight of blood this time. Instead, he threw up, unfortunately, right onto the face of the corpse. They panicked, trying to wipe it off, and in doing so, they discovered that the corpse lying down looked exactly like the old man sitting there. How could this be? They wondered if they were twins or if they had seen a ghost. The young men were so scared they pounded on the glass partition of the ambulance. The 2 paramedics, thinking something was wrong, suddenly stopped the vehicle. The 3 got out, ready to leave, but the boy refused. He remembered what his father had said. They not only needed to record a video as proof, but also get the paramedics' signatures. But if they left halfway through the job, no one would sign for them. If he couldn't get the signature, he would face his father's wrath, and his father would sell his beloved motorcycle. The boy couldn't accept that consequence, so he had to persuade his 2 friends to wash their faces and get back in the ambulance. But when they got back on, they were stunned. The old man was gone, and in his place were 2 children. The strange girl was even making a series of terrifying hand gestures. Then the 2 of them, along with the paramedics, were covered in blood. They didn't know why this was happening. The paramedics then pushed them out of the ambulance and made them see the truth. It turned out that when they were driving drunk, they were swerving on the road, and a taxi swerved to avoid them and crashed. Later, an ambulance came to the rescue, but unfortunately, it was also hit. A non-serious accident thus turned into one where 5 people lost their lives, and the root cause of it all was their drunk driving. Finally seeing the truth, they remembered what the 2 paramedics had said earlier. One had said he hated drunk driving. The boy had begged him to let them do one good deed. The other paramedic had said to just help them this once, so they would learn the dangers of the road and never drive drunk again. After that day, they went to pay their respects to the 5 people, learned their lesson, stopped drinking, and continued to work as volunteers, persuading others not to drive drunk. At one point, the friend with glasses worriedly asked if the 5 victims would ever forgive the 3 of them. His companion thought that since they had repented and were now doing good deeds and earning merit, they would surely be forgiven. But the boy had a different perspective, asking how their actions could possibly atone for 5 lives. Hearing his words, his 2 buddies looked at each other, their eyes filled with worry, and then they saw the boy get hit by a car and killed. His death seemed to be just the beginning. The story ends here. This is Daniel CC Movie Channel. Stay safe and enjoy your day.